Popcorn, popcorn, get your popcorn. Alejandra's husband comes and says, sign this. Alejandra says, David, what does this mean? David says, it's clear. I'm leaving you for someone who is much better than you. Alejandra says, how can you do this? And how did you buy these clothes? David says, yes, I took some of our savings and sold some old things. Alejandra, in a sad voice, says, David, how could you do this to me? David says firmly, I've already done it, Alejandra. Stop the drama. I've signed the papers. We're already divorced. David's girlfriend says, sign quickly so we can leave peacefully. Alejandra shouts, you be quiet, begs. David, come to your senses. She will leave you when your money is gone. David says, you are saying this because you're jealous, but it will never be true. David leaves with his girlfriend. Alejandra angrily starts throwing popcorn at the young man. The young man says, hey, stop. What are you doing? The young man comes to Alejandra. Alejandra says, crying, don't stop me. You don't know what happened to me. The young man says, maybe I don't know, but it's not a reason to throw things. Alejandra hugs the young man. The young man says, you'll be okay, but can I ask what happened? Alejandra says, my husband divorced me. The young man says, oh, now I understand. If you need help, don't hesitate to ask me. Alejandra says, thank you so much. Next day, Alejandra goes to the bank and sees the same young man is the bank manager. The manager says, yes, tell me, what do you need? The manager sees Alejandra and is surprised. You're here? I'm happy to see you. How can I help? Alejandra says, I need a loan. Manager says, do you have any guarantee? Land, house, car? Alejandra says, no, but I have the pots I use to make popcorn. Manager says, maybe that won't be enough. That's not how our system works. There must be something more valuable. As Alejandra is about to leave, the manager says, wait, I will give the guarantee for you. Alejandra says in surprise, why would you do that for me? Manager says, because I just want to help. Where will the business for the loan be? Alejandra says, everything is ready. I just need the money. Manager says, you can get up to $10,000. Alejandra says, that's enough. Manager says, just remember, I'm putting my job at risk. Alejandra says, I will never break your trust. On the other side, David's girlfriend says, the cashier says your card is empty. Give another one. David says, this is the only one I have. Girlfriend angrily says, that's not my problem. I'm embarrassed because of you. You promised to give me everything. That's why I stayed with you. David says, I thought you loved me. Girlfriend says, love doesn't fill the stomach. Go get a new loan. The girlfriend leaves him. David says, no, please don't go. On the other side, the manager comes to Alejandra's shop and says, Alejandra, I'm happy to see you. This is a gift for you. Alejandra says, you didn't have to. Manager says, you earned all this yourself. Alejandra says, why so much praise? Manager smiles and says, because I like you. Alejandra says, give me some time. Manager says, I'll wait as long as you want. A few days later, David comes to Alejandra's shop in poor condition and says, can I have something to eat? Alejandra says, David, you here? David says, yes, my girlfriend left me. Now I'm drowning in debt. Please forgive me. Alejandra says, take these biscuits and go away. I don't want to see you again. Manager says, that was your ex-husband? Alejandra says, yes, but now I'm happy. Manager says, so can we be together now? Alejandra, yes, because I love you. Should Alejandra have forgiven her husband? Tell your opinion in the comments. If you like the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.